Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to today's very interesting topic, which is facilitating knowledge sharing and collaboration. Why do I say it is very important? It is because anywhere in the world where knowledge is not shared, it is almost impossible to perform any activity or to work together to achieve organizational goals and objectives. I'm trying to imagine a world where knowledge sharing does not exist, whether at the family level, at group level, or organizational level. Knowledge is what drives societies. And without sharing, it means that societies stagnate. Talking of organizations, the absence of knowledge sharing means that we develop silos where people work alone and do not share with others. This becomes extremely difficult for any individual or group or organization to achieve its objectives because everybody retains or keeps his or her knowledge without sharing. Collaboration is also very important because it arises from knowledge sharing, that people have to work together for them to achieve team objectives. That through collaboration, employees and organizations are able to achieve synergy. By synergy, we mean better results that are achieved by working together as teams. So individual employees must work together with others for them to achieve organizational objectives. Without collaboration, again, we cannot achieve better results, such as improved customer service, innovation, and also profit for the organization, especially those in private organizations. So today, we are going to explore the methods of sharing knowledge, the tools, the strategies, as well as the importance of sharing knowledge. We will also discuss the concept of collaboration, why it is important for people to collaborate, as well as the platforms that may help employees to collaborate in order to achieve individual, team, and organizational objectives. Having given that brief introduction, I want us to move to the objectives of this module. We intend to achieve three main objectives in this module. One is to identify strategies that can be used in knowledge sharing, either at team level or at organizational level. Secondly, we will look at the challenges that may arise when people are sharing knowledge across functions. This is because effective knowledge management is about working together irrespective of the departments to which we belong. So cross-functional collaboration is very important. And if anything goes wrong in between, then we may not achieve organizational objectives. And that is the reason why we are addressing challenges that may crop up during cross-functional collaboration. And then lastly, we will be looking at the frameworks that we shall implement to promote peer learning and mentorship. I will delve into the details of peer learning because through peer learning, we promote collaboration, that people learn from others at the same level. And for mentorship, we are going to look at how mentorship is important in sharing what we call earlier tacit knowledge. So through mentorship, we share tacit knowledge. So those are our three objectives that we hope to achieve by the end of this program today morning. With your permission, I want to move to the introduction so that we try to understand what knowledge sharing and collaboration are and how best we can navigate this process of knowledge sharing and collaboration. So the first thing that we want to look at in this program is I seem to have lost my network here, sorry.
Are you okay, Morium?
Just a minute, I seem to have lost my slide here.
Okay.
Just a minute. Okay, sorry for that. By way of introduction, knowledge sharing is about unlocking the full potential of an organization. What do I mean by full potential? It means achieving the highest possible value or results by using our knowledge resources. And we can look at full potential at 3 levels. One, at the individual level, where an employee is able to use his or her skills, knowledge, and experience to make informed decisions, attain their targets, as well as improve their performance. The second level is the group level, where people are working together to achieve team or group objectives. This potential helps them to innovate and also to perform their duties effectively through teamwork. And lastly, full potential can be looked at organizational level, where organizations are able to achieve their objectives as well as strategies so that they add value in terms of revenue generation or business growth. And when businesses grow in terms of products, in terms of revenues and their markets, they achieve a competitive advantage. Secondly, knowledge management helps us to create a culture of openness. What do we mean by culture of openness? That people and teams are willing and ready to share their skills and knowledge freely. So when people openly share their knowledge, they are able to perform well and also support each other. This requires the use of effective platforms. So what are these platforms that can facilitate a culture of openness? They are in the form of systems. For example, Zoom, which is a tool that is used to share knowledge, especially when employees and people are distributed over long distances. Another platform could be webinars, like the one that we are having is a webinar where people can share their experiences, their knowledge, as well as their skills. So these programs or platforms facilitate sharing of knowledge. And through these platforms, we are able to promote teamwork, where people are working collaboratively to achieve individual, team, and organizational objectives. And then lastly, under the introduction, that through knowledge sharing and collaboration, we can ensure that knowledge flows seamlessly. By knowledge flow, we mean that there is effective sharing of knowledge between and among people in organizations. That like communication, when people share their knowledge, then they have all the resources they require in terms of knowledge, skills, and expertise to perform their jobs. So if there is need for effective knowledge sharing, then managing this sharing process is very important. And again, through knowledge sharing and collaboration, we are able to promote or enhance innovation. How does this come about? It is by way of sharing our experiences or insights, which can help us to develop new ideas. Because when people work together collaboratively, they share their ideas, and some ideas are fairly innovative. Another reason why we need to enhance knowledge sharing and collaboration is decision making. As HR managers, we make many decisions related to the various functions that we perform. So, what are the functions in which we make decisions? One, recruitment and selection. Two, training and development. Four, performance management. Five, employee relations. And lastly, health and safety. For example, in recruitment and selection, we need to share knowledge about the potential candidates or employees before we make a decision to select the final candidate. So unless we share our knowledge about these candidates, then it becomes difficult to make choices from among those potential employees. And lastly, through knowledge management, sharing and collaboration, we are able to achieve organizational resilience. Resilience is about surviving shocks in our systems or turbulence. This turbulence may relate to union activities or employee exits, or even technological changes. That when these changes take place in our environment, they may cause some instability. And through knowledge sharing and collaboration, we are able to work together to explore ways of managing this turbulence. And that is why we emphasize the importance of knowledge sharing and collaboration, because together organizations achieve resilience. We want to go to the concept of knowledge sharing, because in our topic, we have indicated that we are discussing knowledge sharing and collaboration. And therefore, I'm going to discuss these two concepts separately, starting with knowledge sharing. Sharing is about open exchange of information, skills, and experience. I have indicated that it's voluntary, that people should be willingly sharing information. At the social level, this is fairly voluntary because nobody should force anyone to share their skills and knowledge. Even in organizations, there is quite a lot of knowledge, skills, and experiences that people may not want to share. And we cannot force them to share what they have. And that is why the emphasis is on voluntary exchange. And this requires that managers create an environment where employees can voluntarily share their skills and their knowledge. And how can this be done? One, allowing free flow of information. Two, engaging employees in conversations on a regular basis, such as meetings. Three, encouraging teamwork. So through this, employees can voluntarily share their knowledge resources. And this voluntary exchange is among individuals who may be working separately, within teams, or within organizations, or among other organizations. People working together in an office at the individual level can share information, skills, and experience. For example, an individual is stuck with a task. He or she can seek assistance from other individual employees. That assistance is usually in the form of skills and experience on how to perform the task. So that is very important, to share knowledge where people are not working effectively. At team level, people share their knowledge, especially when they are working on a project, that all members of the team should be willing and ready to share their skills and knowledge. Because in projects, the main driving force is teamwork or collaboration. Without sharing skills and knowledge, then teams might start crumbling. So people must work collaboratively in teams to achieve team objectives. At the organizational level, we are looking at two levels. One, within an individual organization, and two, between two or more organizations. When we start within an organization, all members of the organization must work together. That means individuals and teams work together to achieve organizational objectives. And organizations that work together are likely to succeed than where individuals and teams are working in silos. I will talk about the concept of silos as we move on in this program. Secondly, organizations work with others within the industry or across industries. Organizations like governments and banks work together so as to achieve their own objectives. So this collaboration, for example, between government and banks, enables them to transact financial services. For example, government may want to borrow money to plug its budget deficit. They may have to talk to banks so that they can lend this money to them that government can use to invest in various projects like infrastructure. Both private and public organizations work together to achieve their strategic objectives. And this requires exchange of knowledge, which we have called knowledge sharing. Secondly, the concept of knowledge sharing involves giving and receiving knowledge. Giving means providing skills and knowledge to help others achieve their individual or organizational objectives. So we give various types of knowledge. For example, documents. Documents like policies, manuals, and SOPs, that is standard operating procedures. We provide this to others so that they can use them. So that is what we call written or explicit knowledge. We can also give our experiences, our knowledge, and the insights to others. This is the soft knowledge, which we call tacit knowledge. That these two types of knowledge help others to achieve their objectives. And when you talk of receiving knowledge, it is about accepting to acquire or use knowledge that has been provided. So we receive the two types of knowledge, that is explicit, which is documented, as well as tacit knowledge, which is experiential, to solve problems, improve processes, or enhance performance. So the concept of knowledge sharing is about exchanging knowledge resources such as documents, skills, and experiences. What are the enablers of knowledge sharing? These are tools, systems, and environments that promote or enhance sharing of knowledge. That without them, knowledge sharing can be difficult. I have indicated some of the factors that enable effective knowledge sharing, starting with leadership. Leaders must support knowledge sharing. How do they support? Number one is by leading by example, where they take their own time to meet others and sharing their knowledge. This can be done through emails, through town hall meetings, or through strategies that are shared with other people below the structure. Secondly, the leaders can support knowledge sharing by providing resources. These are financial, physical, and human resources. For example, financial resources can be used to acquire technological tools that can facilitate knowledge transfer or sharing. Physical resources may be like buildings or offices can be used to have meetings where knowledge can be shared. And lastly, human resources. The top leadership should support acquisition, utilization, and retention of employees who are qualified. And those qualified employees have the skills, the knowledge, and experiences that they can share. So leadership is very important insofar as knowledge sharing is concerned because of their time to interact with others, to share their knowledge, and providing resources that can support knowledge sharing. Secondly is the existence of digital infrastructure. These are technological tools like intranets and portals through which people can exchange insights, knowledge, and experiences. Speaking of intranets, these are networks, technological networks within organizations that enable people to share information. These local area networks can enable people to access information either by way of sending emails or texts within the network so that people can be informed of what is going on, or people can share their ideas and knowledge depending on the needs. And then portals, these are reservoirs of knowledge where people can plug into and retrieve or post information. These portals are usually contained in human resource information systems or ERPs, that is enterprise resource planning, that they provide a platform through which employees can access information. And through this access, knowledge can be exchanged. Thirdly, incentives and recognition promote knowledge sharing. Incentives and recognitions are rewards which are given to people for sharing useful knowledge. This is not a bribe, but an encouragement for people to share their knowledge. Remember, we said that knowledge sharing is voluntary exchange. So when people are recognized for sharing useful knowledge, they feel valued. and they become motivated to contribute even more during meetings or any forms of exchange. So what are the examples of these incentives that can be given to employees? One is a bonus based on their knowledge exchange. Two, it can be vouchers that they can use to buy products of their own choice. Or three, it can be a certificate or Employee of the Year award. This encourages people to perform better by way of sharing useful information. Another enabler is the organizational culture, where an organization promotes open sharing of information, skills, and knowledge. Through openness, people are not afraid of being reprimanded for sharing knowledge. But this does not mean that people must share any form of knowledge. No. Of course, there are limitations on what can be shared at what time. Secondly, a culture of collaboration promotes teamwork. That when we work as a team, we learn from each other. People come from different backgrounds, whether gender, ethnic, nationalities, or even religious backgrounds. They can share their knowledge based on their backgrounds when they work together. So a culture that promotes collaboration encourages knowledge sharing among teams. Learning is also a very important element of organizational culture, where there is continuous organizational learning, that people are sharing their knowledge either through training or through social exchanges, which help them to acquire new knowledge. So an organization where there is continuous learning promotes knowledge sharing. And then on communication, the emphasis is that we use simple, direct channels to encourage knowledge flow. Talking of clear communication relates to two or three things. One, the language used. That when people use clear and simple language, they make others to understand issues better. We should not use complicated language, because language is what creates understanding. And when people don't understand, then there is no sharing of knowledge. Secondly, we can talk of communication in terms of the choice of medium or channels of communication. There are various types of communication. One is oral communication. Two is written communication. 3, audiovisual, and 4, non-verbal. Oral communication is direct, it's a direct channel of sharing knowledge. And through oral communications like telephone conversations or meetings, we are able to share our knowledge, skills, and experience. Through audiovisual, we are able to use videos or teleconferencing channels to communicate with the people directly. The complication comes when you use non-verbal communication. Why? Because people cannot easily interpret non-verbal communications like gestures, facial expressions, or body language. Therefore, it cannot be an effective channel for sharing knowledge. Therefore, it is recommended that we use channels that can clearly communicate a message to create understanding. So we use oral, written, or audio visuals to encourage the flow of knowledge. Lastly, global human resource policies can encourage knowledge sharing. We operate in a global environment where people and organizations are interconnected. When we engage in the various HR functions, for example, recruitment, we can borrow best practices either from within our countries or from outside. So because of the interconnectedness of people and organizations, we can borrow best practices and customize them to suit our requirements. This requires sharing of knowledge within and outside countries. And how can we do this? We can do it by way of benchmarking. We can compare our policies with others, which they call best of class within our industries. And again, depending on your financial resources and the position you want to occupy in the market, you can compare yourselves with organizations like Coca-Cola, which is a global company, or Toyota, or other organizations like Sony. These are best of class in their own industries and can provide good insights on HR policies that have worked. And through this benchmarking, we are able to share knowledge with our employees or with the companies with which we are benchmarking. So those are some of the enablers of knowledge sharing. There could be many others like technology, which we can read and learn about. How do we create a knowledge sharing culture? Our knowledge sharing culture is where there is seamless flow of knowledge between or among individuals and teams. So for us to ensure that seamless flow, we need to do the following. One, fostering or promoting trust. Trust is a belief that someone will do the right thing at the right time and at the right places, and that there will be no disappointment. So trust can be built by encouraging open communication. That when people share their skills and knowledge in an open manner, they build trust. And by extension, mutual respect and collaboration. And this largely depends on, one, how we use the knowledge resources that we have shared. And two, how we communicate in terms of detail or transparency. If these two ingredients are missing, then trust gets lost. That people don't use the knowledge shared in an appropriate manner. And two, there is no transparency in the sharing of the knowledge. So trust can be built by encouraging effective utilization of knowledge as well as transparent sharing. Secondly, we can build a culture of knowledge sharing by promoting openness. As I have indicated, openness is about sharing knowledge freely without fear of victimization or intimidation. And a culture that supports open communication is one that supports transparent knowledge flow, that there is nothing to hide, especially when it comes to knowledge that should be shared among individuals or teams. And this openness promotes trust, as I have said. So we need to promote transparency in knowledge sharing. Thirdly, is recognizing contribution. That when employees are rewarded for sharing useful knowledge, they can be willing and be motivated to share even more knowledge. So how do we recognize staff? Like I have indicated before, through vouchers, through promotion, or through certificates. This helps them to share more knowledge or even do more research so that they can have more knowledge to share in future. Another way of building a knowledge sharing culture is through mentorship. This is where senior or junior employees share their skills and knowledge to help others grow or perform better. So the traditional mentorship program is where senior managers are partnered with these junior employees so that the juniors can learn from them. But today, there is an increase in reverse mentorship, where junior staff can also share their knowledge with the senior managers or immediate supervisors because they could be more knowledgeable. So through mentorship, we are able to encourage on-the-job knowledge transfer, that people are exchanging their skills and knowledge as they work. So mentorship should be one of the key programs in training and development that will encourage knowledge sharing, which helps others to grow their knowledge or expand their knowledge and perform better. So mentorship can start as early as onboarding and should be continuous throughout the life of an employee in the organization. So there should be no point at which mentorship stops. Because as it were, when people stop learning, whether through mentorship and other training programs, then they start dying. Dying in terms of knowledge because they are not acquiring knowledge, meaning that the knowledge they have has become stale or expired. Lastly, knowledge sharing can be promoted by leaders leading by example. That most of us look upon our leaders for direction in terms of strategy and policy. And for that reason, we look upon them to share their knowledge in relation to their strategies, their policies, their mission, and vision. And many of us copy what our leaders do, either overtly or covertly. That we observe what they do in terms of knowledge sharing or in terms of behavior in the way we treat others. So as HR managers, we are leaders and should provide good examples to others in terms of knowledge sharing. We have a lot of knowledge in our custody that can be shared with our employees within our departments or even outside, because knowledge sharing is not limited to one department. It can be shared across departments. So knowledge like training resources can be shared within or outside HR department, or performance appraisal results. Depending on the need, this knowledge can be shared. And the flow of this knowledge can either be upward or downward or crosswise. So we are not limited to sharing knowledge only downward, but we can also share knowledge upward, because our senior managers also need to know what is going on in our respective departments. So those are some of the ways in which we can build a culture of knowledge sharing. I want to invite questions related to what I have said in terms of the concept of knowledge sharing, 2, enablers of knowledge sharing, and 3, building a knowledge sharing culture. So anybody who has a comment, a question, please go ahead. In no particular order, I can ask Sarah to ask a question if you have any, or a comment. Rose, if you are there, you can ask your question.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rose. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, your question or comment?
No question as yet. Comment, very enlightening.
Thank you.
It's interesting as we go through our careers in HR.
Yes.
3/4 of the time, these are things that we should know or should remember. But I think as you're going through the issues, I think it's a good process of recall in terms of how we should continue to implement these issues in our workplaces. So thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Rose. And I'm happy that this is helping us improve our performance in organizations.
Yes, thank you.
Alice, if you are there, you can ask your question or make a comment.
I don't know which Alice. It's one Alice. Okay.
I'm happy that
Yes. I'm happy that I'm participating in this because I thought I understood what knowledge sharing is. It's good to be reminded. And it's a very useful session, I must say. Thank you, Mr. Odari.
You are welcome. Thank you, Alice. We can now move on to the next part unless there's somebody who has a question or a comment. All right, Lillian?
Yes, I'm just wondering, good morning, everyone, sorry. I am just wondering how best would a subordinate in a HR department, for example, be able to share knowledge with a senior and not come out as being or trying to portray the senior as not being knowledgeable in that particular area.
Okay. Thank you, Lillian. I want to approach your question in 3 ways. One, that we are all professionals in HR, and I will assume that a junior staff in any department is also a professional in their respective departments. So professionally, in terms of packaging of the language, the employees can share their knowledge without seeming to outshine or intimidate the senior staff. That when you are sharing this knowledge, you are acknowledging the importance of the work that everybody is doing, and that you give your opinion based on your knowledge and experiences, so that it is approached from a problem-solving perspective. That as professionals, we encounter various problems, and therefore we propose solutions without necessarily seeming to outshine or intimidate the senior managers. Secondly, we share our knowledge through meetings. We hold staff meetings all the time, and through these meetings, people share their knowledge resources. This is an opportunity for junior staff to share their knowledge with their seniors. And in many cases, the seniors ask the junior staff if they have any issues that can be addressed or any information that can be useful to the organization. And again, this is an opportunity for the junior staff to share their insights or perspectives in relation to the agenda of the meetings that they hold all the time. And then lastly, it's about adoption of technologies. We have several tools which we can use to share our knowledge resources, especially for junior staff. One is dashboards. This is a system where junior staff can post their knowledge, their experiences related to specific subjects or issues. So in an organization that promotes a culture of sharing, they should be open-minded to receive insights from others through dashboards. The second one, which I mentioned earlier, is portals. That in these portals, employees can also share their insights and their experiences or knowledge. So those are the three ways in which employees can share their skills and knowledge upwards, that is the senior managers. I will repeat them in bullet points. One, the language in which we package our knowledge should be professional. Two, holding of staff meetings where employees can share their experiences and knowledge. And three, use of technology like dashboards and portals. I believe I've answered your question, Lillian.
Thank you. Well understood.
Thank you. Next are tools for sharing knowledge. Tools can be or are systems that are used to promote knowledge sharing. And these tools can be manual or technological or digital. Because we all operate in the digital space, my emphasis is on the digital tools or technological tools. Because my understanding is that physical or manual tools are slow and therefore slow decision making or even sharing of knowledge. So the best practice today is to adopt technology so that we can share knowledge efficiently and effectively. The first tool on the slide is the use of intranet systems. These are internal networks through which people can share their knowledge. And as I've said, people can share either documented knowledge or experiential knowledge. So such intranets, like emails, can be used as tools for sharing knowledge. And only employees within the organization can access this system. Nobody can access from outside if you are not within the network. And the beauty of this network is that it centralizes policies and standard operating procedures. When policies and other documents are centralized, it becomes easier for people to access them. And when they access them, they can also share these documents with others. The same goes with SOPs, standard operating procedures, that we use these SOPs to perform our duties efficiently and effectively because they provide the steps or processes and procedures that are used in performing a task. So these intranets help employees to access reference materials like policies, SOPs, and even learning resources, which I will mention in the last bullet. Secondly, knowledge portals where people can search information or knowledge that they may need at any time. So when you access your own internal portals, you are able to see what items that exist. And at the click of a button, you are able to access the knowledge resources. For instance, at SCHRP, if you go to our website, you are able to see our products, the certificates that we offer, and the programs that are scheduled for the year. I guess a similar system exists in your organization where you can click on a button and you access knowledge resources. So these portals help employees to search for knowledge related to leaves and leave applications, to trainings that exist, 3 policies, 4 reports, or 5 minutes of previous meetings. So these portals enable people to access resources on a continuous basis. Why? Because this is a knowledge reservoir that can be used and reused many times, and in the process, knowledge is shared. The other tool is the use of online forums. There are organizations that have created such forums where people can ask questions, make comments, or give insights on issues that exist in their organizations. So such online forums include websites. They also include social media handles like LinkedIn, where professionals share their resources. So organizations can provide such forums where people can access knowledge or post questions and seek answers from the various people responsible. This not only allows organizations to collect or share knowledge from employees, but they can also obtain knowledge from customers, partners, or even individuals who want to know more about the organization. So these forums provide a platform for sharing knowledge. Another tool is webinars, like the one that we are now having. This is a web system which allows people to make presentations and discuss issues in real time, meaning that there's no waiting time in between. And many of us have interacted with webinars where people exchange their knowledge through training, like the one we are having, or through meetings. These meetings, online meetings, enable people to share their knowledge and experiences or discuss issues. Through this forum, then real-time knowledge can be exchanged or shared. The other tool is the use of dashboards, which I have said is a form of database where employees can post ideas, insights, or experiences so that others can see. And the HR dashboards enable people to share data and also create understanding among other employees, because this is a shared tool. Lastly, is a learning management system, which is a knowledge management repository where learning materials can be stored and people can use them to learn. So how does it work? That in a knowledge management system, we can have different components like performance management or recruitment and selection or training and development. Within the training and development component, we can have a learning management system where HR managers can store knowledge materials such as training programs or two notes of current or past trainings or systems related to learning where employees can do self-learning. So learning management system facilitates acquisition and the sharing of knowledge because people can access this system at any time, anywhere through the system. So learning management is key because we can access knowledge materials, and this is a way of sharing knowledge within an organization. So those are the tools that we can use to share knowledge. And this knowledge, as we have said, is divided into two. That is documented knowledge or experiential knowledge, which we have called tacit knowledge. Next is how we can share informal knowledge. Here we are trying to differentiate between formal and informal. Formal is fairly structured and documented. Informal is in many cases unstructured and undocumented. If you look at the points I've raised there, many of them are not documented. Starting with mentoring sessions. When senior or junior staff meet, they exchange knowledge by way of sharing. So the mentor can ask the mentee to share their experience. And the mentee can ask questions to the mentor. So this is a mutual exchange where the mentee learns from the mentor by way of asking questions or sharing their insights. So mentorship is a social conversation where mentees and the mentors meet and discuss matters related to performance. On peer discussion, this is where employees at the same level discuss matters of mutual concern. For example, it could be an impending report that they have to write, or an upcoming activity where people's insights are required on how to make it successful. So people at the same level can discuss matters related to their individual work or the work of other teams, either within the same department or outside. When people discuss as peers, they share their experiences and insights because there are no power differences. By power differences, we mean there is nobody who is higher up in the structure or lower down in that structure. They are equals, and there's a possibility that there could be free flow of information, which is knowledge sharing. With such kind of forums, people are able to share their knowledge freely without fear. And again, this depends on the level of interaction that they have developed over time. But in organizations which encourage knowledge sharing through discussions, then peer discussions should not be a problem because they understand each other. The other way of sharing knowledge is having lunch meetings or events. Some of us have working lunches where you don't have to go outside the facility to look for lunch. People carry their own lunch to meetings. And as they discuss their issues, they can be taking their lunch. This is what they call brown bag lunches. Why brown bag? Because traditionally, lunch was carried in brown bags. So during lunch, people can have discussions ranging from 10, 15, or even 30 minutes so that they can share or discuss an issue which they need to resolve. So through these lunches, time. So the time is limited. The agenda is focused, and therefore we gain insights when we meet over lunch hour. For cross training, we are talking about people sharing their knowledge, experiences, and insights with other departments. So people from different departments can come together and learn from each other. And these departments can be finance, ICT, human resources, or production for those in the manufacturing sector. This provides an opportunity for the employees to learn what happens in other departments. There is a lot that we don't know about other departments, so that when we come together, we get to know what is going on. An example is where internal auditors work together with the HR managers to find common ground on how to go about HR audits. Why? Because external auditors may not have deep understanding of HR audit. So when internal audit department come together with HR department, they are able to share their knowledge and identify critical areas that they can look at in order to make the audit process effective. And this can be done with other departments like finance. And that is why we have trainings such as HR for non-HR managers, where other people from other departments can have knowledge about HR, even if they are not HR practitioners. So cross-training, which means training across departments, we are able to receive or give knowledge to improve performance of our departments. Lastly, on informal knowledge sharing is storytelling. We tell stories about where the organization has come from, where it is, and probably where it is going. We also tell stories about our experiences in our respective departments. What has worked and so through these forums of storytelling, we are able to understand what others have gone through or where the organization has come from. And storytelling does not necessarily mean positive stories. It can mean even negative stories, because that's where we have positive and negative experiences. Through storytelling, we are able to identify or know what has worked and what has not worked. And from this, we learn lessons. So stories are there to create understanding or share knowledge about our experiences, about performance, and about the future of the organization. Storytelling can be based on an individual organization or other organizations. And how do we get to know about other organizations so that we can tell stories about them? One is through benchmarking, where we visit organizations and learn best practices from them. We can tell a story about the successes of others through benchmarking. Secondly, we can tell stories through observation. We observe other organizations and learn from them. And through these observations, we are able to learn best practices from others. So these are some of the informal methods of knowledge sharing. And again, I want to request anyone with a question or a comment to make before we move on to the next slide. I'll go back a bit. That is tools for knowledge sharing and 2, informal knowledge sharing. Anybody with a question? Priska, if you have any question, you can ask.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Elisha? Elisha, if you are hearing me, you can ask your question or make a comment. Okay, thank you. So if there is no question or comment, let us move to the next part, and that is barriers to knowledge sharing. As I indicated from the objectives, we are going to look at barriers or challenges that face people in organizations related to knowledge sharing and collaboration. Barriers are aspects or factors in the organization that prevent, discourage, or inhibit sharing of knowledge. And they can be based on individual differences or systemic failures. Starting with lack of trust, these are the individual level, where employees may fear 2 things. 1, being criticized, or 2, losing their jobs. Many of us do not like being criticized, more so negative criticism. Why? Because we start feeling incompetent or inferior because we don't seem to have adequate knowledge that is required in our jobs. So for fear of being criticized, we stop sharing knowledge, or if not stopping, we share the bare minimum that we can afford to share. And that becomes a barrier because this inhibits full sharing of knowledge. Secondly, losing jobs is a critical aspect that we always consider related to what we can or cannot share. Especially in today's job environment, jobs have become stable because of the weak economy, and losing a job becomes unthinkable because it is difficult to find the next job. So people lose jobs because of what they share. And therefore, some of us may hoard or hold on to knowledge for fear of losing their jobs. And this arises from lack of trust. As I said earlier, trust arises from the belief that knowledge shared can be used for the purpose intended and that it cannot be used against a person. In environments where knowledge is used against individual employees, then employees may not be willing to share their knowledge. And again, that becomes a barrier. Shortly, I will be sharing ways of improving knowledge sharing. But very quickly, I can say that we must develop an environment of free flow of information or knowledge so that we can build trust. And also deploy or utilize knowledge resources for the purpose it was intended, no witch hunting. Secondly, poor communication is a barrier. It can be a barrier in many ways. One, the choice of communication channels. Not all channels can disseminate knowledge as intended. Some of the channels I've mentioned include oral communication, 2, written communication, and 3, audiovisual, which combines oral and visual. Depending on the issue at hand, managers can choose any of the 3 methods. For example, if managers want to communicate or share details about the organization, then a meeting could be appropriate, which is oral communication. 2, if the information being communicated requires a summary, then a brief report can be shared. Or the use of audio-visual, like Zoom meetings, call them webinars, we can also utilize them to engage others to share their knowledge, skills, and experiences. So in communication, we must be careful to choose the right medium that can convey the right information to the people intended. Another aspect related to poor communication is language use, where people use complicated language which others may not understand. If not complicated language, others may use their own languages, which is unknown to others. This may include using either French, Arabic, or English for audiences that do not understand those languages. At the local level, we have our local languages, depending on your ethnic background, where people share knowledge using their mother tongues. This becomes a barrier because when people don't understand a language, then they cannot easily receive the knowledge that is being communicated. The other barrier is where we work in silos, that we confine our communication and knowledge sharing within our own departments. This means that the department next door does not know what the other department is doing. With these silos, it becomes difficult to share knowledge. And many organizations suffer from this culture where there is no willingness to share information. Why? Because of lack of trust, as I've indicated, that they may not use this knowledge for the purpose intended. These silos discourage open sharing of knowledge. So again, we need to be careful about the use of these silos because knowledge is compartmentalized, and this discourages knowledge sharing and learning culture. The other barrier is technological gaps. I can look at technology in three ways. One, outdated systems. Two, lack of skills and knowledge among employees. And three, accessibility to knowledge resources using this technology. Starting with outdated systems, we are all aware that technology is dynamic and it changes very quickly within a short time. And this requires that organizations also adapt to these systems or changes in technology. For example, today, we are talking about digital resources like AI, artificial intelligence. And these resources help organizations to acquire new knowledge almost in real time using AI. So I'm trying to imagine an organization that is using old technology like typewriters or desktop computers, which may not have access to external knowledge resources outside the organization. So to compete in terms of knowledge assets, organizations must update their technological systems so that we can capture, store, and share knowledge in real time or within a short period of time. The second technological gap is the skills and knowledge that people have. Here we are talking about people who have different skills and knowledge related to technology. For instance, talking of generational gaps, it is believed that those of us who belong to the older generation, either the baby boomers or Generation X, are slow in adopting new technology. And because we were used to the old technology, it becomes harder to learn new technology or unlearn the knowledge that we have acquired or used to over the long period of time. Unlearning is one of the most difficult aspects when it comes to learning and development. Imagine you are used to a desktop and you have used it for the last 20 years. And here is a new technology that is coming in where you are supposed to use either a tablet or a telephone gadget to transact business. Because you are used to the old system, you will take a very long time to learn the functions of the new technology. So that becomes a technological gap in terms of skill and the knowledge base related to technology. The third gap, still on this technological gap, when you read around and about the technological gap, about the developed North and the underdeveloped South, you will get to understand that the differences in technology which are used in these two regions. That the developed North uses advanced technology compared to the underdeveloped or developing South. And therefore, because of the differences in these technological gaps, we are not able to keep pace with what is going on in the developed North. And that hinders sharing of knowledge because we are not at par with the people in the North. Lastly, I mentioned something about the third technological gap, and that is accessibility to these knowledge resources. Not all of us can access knowledge resources from where they are because they do not have the technology to access. For example, you have a telephone which does not have the adequate applications that you can use to download documents. For example, if your telephone does not have a PDF application, it becomes difficult to share knowledge which is written in PDF or Excel. If your gadget does not have this application, then it's not possible to share documents in Excel. Other gaps could be use of photographs or videos that your technology does not have these functions like videos and photos. So it becomes difficult to share knowledge. For example, you are in the field. For those of us who are in projects, you want to share a photo of a building or a project with others back in the office. So if you have a telephone or a gadget that does not take pictures, it becomes difficult to share that. Probably you have a mulikamwizi that cannot be used in sharing video or pictorial documents. So those are the various ways in which technology can hinder knowledge sharing. I can repeat them. 1, outdated systems. 2, lack of skills and knowledge related to technology. And 3, lack of appropriate technologies to share knowledge. Number 4 is lack of incentives. At the risk of repeating myself, incentives encourage knowledge sharing. That if people are rewarded for sharing valuable knowledge, then when rewarded, they will be motivated to share even more. Where there are no incentives, then it discourages knowledge sharing. The other barrier is language and cultural differences. Starting with language, I can look at it in 3 ways. 1, the use of jargon. This is complicated language which others don't understand. Each department has its own jargon. For example, finance has its own jargon. ICT has its own jargon. HR has its own jargon as well. So when you use this complicated language, then you lose your audience. Your audience cannot understand you, whether using verbal language or written communication. Secondly, on language, we are using language that is related to our ethnic or national languages. Ethnic languages are fairly complicated, especially for people who don't understand that language. I believe all of us have been to organizations where some employees speak their own mother tongue. They assume everybody belongs to their ethnic background and therefore they use this language. This becomes a barrier to knowledge sharing because people don't understand those ethnic languages. National language like English or Kiswahili may not be understood by everybody. Only people who may have been exposed to these languages can understand when sharing this knowledge. For instance, you want to conduct an exercise like corporate social responsibility activities, say tree planting, and you want to create sensitization or awareness among the local communities on tree planting and how they can nurture these trees. In a community which does not understand English or Kiswahili as national languages, it becomes a barrier. And therefore, for you to be safe, you can use translators. So language is a critical aspect when it comes to knowledge sharing. And therefore, we should use appropriate language for the right audience when we are sharing our knowledge. The second part is cultural differences. We come from different backgrounds with different values, norms, and belief systems. I want to focus on values as part of cultural differences. Values like honesty and integrity, transparency and accountability, customer care, or innovation are very important when it comes to knowledge sharing. Depending on your background, such values may become a barrier because they may not be shared across all cultures. For example, you work in an organization which values time, and yet others do not want to keep time. So that becomes a barrier because you are coming from an organization which values time, and you go to an organization where time is not considered as important. So that becomes a cultural barrier. Cultural barriers can be also thought about when it comes to national boundaries. You go to, for example, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Uganda, the behavior is different. For those countries, politeness is very important. But to Kenyans, we are said to be aggressive and therefore are not polite. That becomes a cultural difference. In Kenya, many people do not, for example, when you are going to a shop, you say nipe kiberiti. But in Tanzania, they say naomba unipe kiberiti. Kenyans are not used to such kind of language. So when you go to another country and say nipe kiberiti, they are not likely to serve you because of the cultural difference in terms of language. Within an organization, there are subcultures as well. That in ICT, they have their own subculture in terms of their way of working. Human resources have their own subculture. So when these subcultures come together, there is likely to be a difference in terms of understanding. So the way different departments work may be different from how HR works. And this can block or discourage exchange of knowledge. Lastly is informational silos where people work individually, either at a personal level or departmental level without sharing knowledge. So again, this kind of arrangement does not encourage receiving or sharing of knowledge. That becomes a barrier. Next is how we can overcome these barriers. One is to reduce fear. where people are encouraged to share their knowledge freely without intimidation or negative criticism. We should also encourage people that whatever they share cannot be used against them. This is not like security agencies who tell suspects that whatever they say or do can be used against them. This is not what we want to promote, that information shared can be used against them. We want to promote an environment where there is no fear when people share their knowledge, particularly concerning their job security. Job security comes from long-term contracts, for example, permanent and pensionable or fixed term. That when people share their knowledge, they should not fear that they will lose their jobs tomorrow. Secondly, is the use of broad-based organizations where the hierarchies are eliminated or reduced. The reason for reducing or flattening organizations is to reduce the time taken to communicate information vertically, that is downward or upward. Where there are tall structures, it takes a long time, and the sharing of knowledge, therefore, takes longer. Especially in cases where there is an emergency, tall structures discourage flow of information or knowledge. So if it takes a long time to share knowledge with the senior managers, then it discourages knowledge sharing. Secondly, on flat-based structures is where many people work at lower levels and work as teams. Because hierarchical structures promote silo environments, but broad-based encourage open exchange. So by flattening our organizations, we ensure that there is free flow of information within and across departments. This works best mostly in project organizations where everybody can work in any department because they are multi-skilled or multitasked. However, in the absence of short structures, we can encourage the use of technology, which overcomes distances or even structures. So modern organizations should employ new technologies so that they reduce the time taken to share knowledge, irrespective of position or distance. The other way of overcoming these barriers is adequate allocation of time. We must create time for knowledge sharing sessions. For example, meetings, we should create time for meetings. 2, webinars, we should create time. 3, access into our learning management systems. Sometimes we are very busy trying to achieve our targets and forget that there is need for sharing. So sharing requires that we create time out of our busy schedules so that we get to know or receive knowledge from other people and also give knowledge, because knowledge sharing is about receiving and giving. The other way is team building, where people can go out there, interact with one another, learn from one another in terms of their strengths and weaknesses, and identify ways in which they can work together. So these team building exercises help to promote collaboration and openness. That if there are people within the team who never wanted to share, through teamwork, they are able to share their experiences and insights. So in team building activities, everybody is supposed to share their experiences, share their knowledge without fear. So that promotes teamwork and collaboration. The other way is updating knowledge management tools. Like I said earlier, outdated systems discourage knowledge sharing. And for that reason, there is need to replace or adopt modern technologies. And I have said there are various knowledge sharing tools like intranets, Zoom, and learning management systems in order to promote better sharing practices. These are some of the ways in which we can overcome barriers to knowledge sharing. There are many others like management support and systems that facilitate knowledge sharing. So again, I will ask us to give our comments or ask questions related to barriers to knowledge sharing, as well as overcoming the barriers. Anybody with a question or a comment, please go on.
Hello, Wanondari. Thank you very much.
Yes, Rose.
Mine is just a comment.
Yes.
I think as leaders in HR,
yes,
in the HR platform, one of the key things we need to also embody is the ability to take criticism.
yes.
Because sometimes as leaders, we always come forward as the person who knows everything or is there to impact the knowledge to the team. But sometimes you find you're in teams that have got a different viewpoint, and you should be able to listen, have a listening ear,
yes,
and also accept criticism. I think that's something very key as we lead our teams. The other thing is also a good forum is also departmental meetings where you actually encourage departments to invite HR to their meetings, where there's that core communication, where poor communication and the culture, poor communication can be broken down. And people are encouraged to voice their opinions and their views on how they want to improve their employment environment. So these are just two of my points. And I just want to say thank you very much. For me, this has been a morning well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose, for your comment and compliment. And that makes us happy. Speaking of criticism, just to add to what you have said, is that we need to develop strong emotional intelligence. That people who are emotionally intelligent are able to understand their own emotions as well as the emotions of others in a social environment. When you understand your own emotions, then you are able to take criticisms in your own stride without fear. And in any case, those criticisms help us to, one, look at issues from a different perspective, and two, learn from our mistakes if there is any. So to me, just like Rosa said, we must learn to take criticisms positively and also develop strong emotional intelligence skills. So thank you, Rose, for your comment.
You're welcome.
Tiara, if you are there, you can ask your question, or any other person like Neptune, if you have a comment or a question to ask.
Morning, Mr. Ondari. No, I don't have any question.
Yes, Kiara.
But I appreciate the session. It's very informative and eye-opening. And
Yes.
you're also able to relate with your setup. And
Yes.
you see maybe sometimes where you fall short.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good forum.
Thank you very much, Kiara. And
Yes.
I'm happy that you are appreciating this program.
Very much, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Neptune, if you are there. Okay, apparently Neptune. Yes, go on, Neptune.
Morning, sir.
Morning to you.
I joined late, so I might not be having much to ask or to comment.
Yes.
But what you said also, there is a scenario whereby I recently joined an organization, and the aspect of knowledge sharing might not make sense right now because of if I share information with this staff,
Yes.
I'll be eliminated. So there's still that fear, and probably whatever you're trying to tell us, I don't know, it's just the aspect of coming up with the strategies to understand how you can enhance this knowledge sharing, because there's that fear. Okay, there's a lot of fear. So you find even some few individuals, they are strained with work just because they don't want to let others know what they're doing. Not really because we are working in silos as departments, but it's just because that individual who is experienced and they know much, they're not willing to share with those who are less experienced for fear that they take up their roles in the event they share the information. So yeah, maybe the strategies on how to encourage and enhance these might work better. Thank you.
Thank you, Neptune. And sorry for your experience. Yes, different organizations have their own culture with respect to sharing of knowledge. In an environment where people fear losing their jobs, there is a possibility of hoarding. Hoarding is HOARDING, keeping knowledge so that they don't lose their jobs. Or two, where managers discourage people from airing their views and intimidating them, then there becomes a problem of knowledge sharing. So even during meetings, people keep quiet and agree with the conveners of the meeting because they don't want to raise eyebrows because of the toxic environment. So again, the people to set the tone and the direction of knowledge sharing culture are the managers, starting with HR managers in our own department. Let us create that environment where people can freely express themselves, encourage criticism, and also encourage people to create trust in your management so that you achieve your own departmental objectives and strategies. If we don't do this, then we also become part of the wider culture which discourages open sharing of knowledge. So with that, we move to the next part, which is measuring knowledge sharing. How do we know that knowledge has been effectively shared? Yes, we can share knowledge, but how effective the sharing has been becomes a problem. So again, we should use metrics to determine the effectiveness of our process of knowledge sharing. One is content distribution, where we are tracking the flow of the documents or ideas that we have shared. We can track documents from the point of source to the point of utilization using automated systems such as AI. AI can tell us where a document is at what time. We can also track the flow of ideas by having meetings at regular intervals so that we can gauge whether the knowledge shared has been utilized wherever it was supposed to. And then the amount of resources shared, this is in terms of the number of documents that have been shared and how well these documents have been used. So in terms of content contribution, you are looking at both explicit, which is documented knowledge, and tacit, which is undocumented, which is experiential, one of which is ideas. Secondly, is the engagement metrics, where we try to determine the number of views that have been given as a result of sharing knowledge. And again, going to our portals, which one of the tools of sharing knowledge, you can determine the number of clicks by employees to view what has been shared in that portal, or the downloads. If you watch or you observe keenly, when you are downloading documents from Google, it shows you the number of downloads that have happened in that website. That gives information to the owners of Google to determine the areas which are frequently visited or are of interest to the majority of people using Google. We can also look at the level of interactions after sharing knowledge, especially in a team environment. It is expected that people should start sharing knowledge by breaking down silos. That means working as teams so that we share our knowledge resources. So the level of interaction should tell us whether our knowledge sharing has been effective or not. Thirdly is the rate at which employees complete their training programs. And this can be determined by assessing how employees participate in the knowledge learning system within the organization. So we can determine the number of visits by employees to the learning management system and the downloads they have made over a given period of time. And again, our system should tell us whether employees are completing the training programs in the learning management system. Participation is not enough, but completion makes it even better. That it could be a waste of having a knowledge management system where people start a program and they don't complete it. This means that they have not acquired full knowledge of what is stored in that repository. So we need full completion of programs within our learning management systems. Just like we say that people go through a diploma or degree program and are said to be half-baked. It means that they have not acquired the full knowledge that they were expected to acquire. So again, at our level, as HR managers, we should assess the completion rate of programs by our employees. The other way is getting feedback from the employees about what they think of the knowledge resources shared. And this will tell us whether the knowledge sharing has borne any fruits or it was a waste of time. So through feedback, we are able to understand what is working and what is not working. And whatever is not working, we take corrective measures. For example, we share knowledge about training. People acquire skills and knowledge through training, and that is a form of knowledge sharing. At the end of the training, we should get feedback on the effectiveness of that training. And one of the elements that should be measured is learning, whether people acquired the relevant skills and knowledge to bridge their performance gaps. So with this feedback, we are able to, eliminate any relevant materials that may no longer be useful, and two, improve our systems for knowledge sharing, whether it is training, whether it is document management system, or whether it is HRIS, Human Resource Information System. If it's not creating the impact that we intend, then feedback should tell us whether this is true or false. The other way of measuring knowledge is through performance indicators, where we are linking knowledge sharing with individual or group performance and innovation. For example, some organizations have learning management systems and the KPIs around this, that employees will be evaluated on the number of programs they have completed in the learning management system. And that becomes their KPI. That the knowledge management system is a tool for sharing knowledge. And those who have completed courses using that tool should be able to improve their performance. So those knowledge management systems like LMS are not there for decoration or for entertainment. They should be linked to individual employee performance. That once you complete a course within that system, it should be reflected in your output and outcomes. The same goes with innovation. How many new innovations does the organization have as a result of sharing the knowledge resources, either through LMS, through dashboards, or through enterprise ERPs, enterprise resource planning. So innovation is about coming up with new ideas, new systems and processes that can help an organization to improve its products, systems, and customer service. What is the importance of knowledge sharing? One is about decision making, because when we have adequate knowledge which is shared, we make better decisions as HR managers. Secondly, is retention of organizational memory, where knowledge is shared through technological tools like document management system or LMS. So that knowledge is retained in the organization, which are knowledge repositories, which are shared or centralized within an organization. On the loss of knowledge through exits, we can retain that through interviews, exit interviews, where employees share their experiences and give reasons why they are leaving. Or secondly, through coaching and mentorship, that before employees leave, there are programs for sharing their knowledge. The other one is it drives innovation, where people share knowledge, they are likely to come up with new programs and new ideas, which will enhance an organization's performance and by extension, achieving a competitive advantage. The other one is strengthening teamwork. In the next slide, I'll be showing the element of collaboration. Collaboration is about working together. And you don't work together without sharing knowledge. So sharing knowledge is important because it promotes and strengthens teamwork. And lastly, it supports learning culture, where people learn on a continuous basis by sharing knowledge internally and externally from other sources. Internally is through meetings, either lunchtime meetings or regular departmental meetings, and externally through websites of other organizations or through benchmarking. So we share knowledge in organizations, and that promotes a learning culture. Because sharing of knowledge means acquisition of skills and knowledge, and that is learning. Then we move to collaboration in the interest of time. As I have indicated, it's about 2 or more people working together to share their ideas, knowledge, experience, expertise, responsibilities, and resources. As I have indicated again, collaboration means working together as a team. And through teamwork, we are able to achieve synergy. Synergy means we produce better or more results than working alone or individually. It also means how individuals, teams, and organizations work together to create, share, and apply knowledge. Going back to my introduction, I said that organizations that share and collaborate achieve their full potential. Full potential, I said, is creating the highest value or benefit to the organization. So through collaboration or sharing of knowledge, we are able to create value for the organization. And what are these values? 1, innovation and creativity. 2, increased revenue and profits. And 3, improved productivity or reduced cost of production. And then the concept of collaboration also relates to collective problem solving. That today in organizations, people work collectively, as opposed to traditional organizations where people used to work individually. So through collaboration, we make we solve problems and we make common decisions. Why? Because of two things. One is ownership of the decisions that are made. That when people work as a team or collaboratively, they own the decisions. And two, through collaboration, we reduce resistance to change. That when individuals work alone and there is a decision made elsewhere, then resistance chances or increase. So collaboration means collective problem solving and decision making. What are the types of collaboration? I've given two types, that is internal collaboration and external collaboration. Internal collaboration is about sharing knowledge within an organization. And this can be done through cross-functional collaboration where different departments work together. For example, audit team working with the HR department. Within HR department, you also audit the various functions, processes, and policies. Somebody from outside may not understand the workings of HR, and therefore that cross-functional pollination helps to improve the audit of HR function. The second one is synchronous collaboration, where people interact in real time. And I've given examples there, like live meetings through Zoom or instant messaging through Twitter or through WhatsApp. And lastly, asynchronous, which means that there is a drift in terms of time. It's not real time, where people work through shared documents. These are stored repositories within an organization because that is internal. Emails, though they can be sent in real time, but it depends on whether an individual can access their emails at the time they are sent. So it's asynchronous because it is not in real time. Or project boards, are systems in project management where people can share their experiences using technological tools. The other one, within the organization is communities of practice where people work together to achieve set objectives either as individuals or as teams. So communities of practice can either be within or outside. That's why I put it in bracket. Could be internal or external. External is where people within an organization share their knowledge with people outside. But I'll talk about that shortly. Peer-to-peer collaborations, I've said that peer knowledge sharing is another tool where people within an organization at the same level work together. And this is one of the best practices in knowledge sharing because it encourages teamwork. Without this peer-to-peer collaboration, like Neptune said in her experience, it discourages sharing and promotes silos and possibly fear. Allow me to address the second part, that is external collaboration, that is interorganizational, where your organization and another organization can collaborate in terms of knowledge sharing. I can give two examples of institutions in Kenya which share knowledge. One is the Qualifications Authority of Kenya, and two is the Commission for University Education. All are institutions that ensure that there is quality education, whether internal or external. While CUE, that is Commission for University Education, is a regulator of our higher institutions of learning. They share knowledge with the Qualifications Authority by way of equating our diplomas and degrees to our local environment. So through collaboration, we are able to know the quality of the degrees or certificates that people get within Kenya. Other organizations that collaborate in government could be KRA and Kenya Power in order to collect taxes. So in the absence of knowledge of customers who are paying taxes, KRA works with Kenya Power to know who are these using their power but are not paying tax. So Kenya Power provides knowledge of their clients, and the KRA can send demands to those people who are not sharing or paying their taxes. The other external collaboration is the communities of service. If you look at my previous slide, there are communities of practice, which is internal. And here in external collaboration, there are communities of practice where organizations share knowledge resources outside with other organizations. And this is by creating of network of professionals. For example, HR, finance, and ICT professionals may have a network where they could be sharing knowledge related to their areas of interest. Strategic collaboration is where organizations create strategic alliances where they can be sharing their knowledge. These alliances help to complement the knowledge resources that they have. There are examples within and outside Kenya where organizations collaborate to share knowledge resources. For example, our organizations may share knowledge resources with the owners of cloud computing, like Google Drive. Google is a company that has created this cloud system where organizations can store their knowledge. And again, this is done in compliance with the Data Protection Act, where there is need for organizations to ensure that any knowledge shared outside is protected. And the Office of the Data Protection Commission must be informed about these networks. So it is strategic because an organization stores its knowledge in a safe environment, and the owners of the cloud storage system also benefits because that storage is not for free. So both parties benefit. The other way of collaboration is customers or supplier collaboration. There's a concept called B2C, where B2C means business to customer. And in this kind of partnership, organizations or businesses can share knowledge with their customers related with the products or purchases and how they can manipulate or they can navigate the system in order to make a purchase. Again, with suppliers, these are the people who provide us with the resources. These are the owners of the factors of production. They share with us their knowledge related to what they are offering whether it is a physical product or an intangible product like a service. During supplier vetting, we are able to acquire knowledge about the suppliers, what they can supply, and their capability of supplying these products. And that is good knowledge which enables us to make good decisions. Lastly is academic and research collaboration. Today, organizations like universities work with the industries to do research that satisfy the needs of industry. For example, there is a current collaboration between Chandaria Industries with the Kenyatta and the Jomo Kenyatta universities to produce certain technologies which benefits both. That through this collaboration, we come up with new ideas, new products that can be manufactured or produced by organizations, both in private and public sector. So working with research institutes like universities can be beneficial to both the organization and the universities. What are the tools and platforms for collaboration? One is the enterprise social networks, where people can discuss topical issues. And I mentioned one of which is the intranet, where people share their skills and knowledge. The second one is document management system, where documents are stored for ease of retrieval and sharing. Others conduct video conferencing, where employees are distributed in a wide geographical areas. They can have Zoom meetings through which they can work together. And this is very important, especially for virtual teams. These are people working remotely and may not have an opportunity to meet physically. So video conferencing is very important for collaboration among virtual teams. Wikis and forums. Wikis are technological tools like websites where people can link and share their knowledge resources. Another system which is related to wikis is dashboards, where people can share their knowledge and insights without necessarily meeting physically. What are the barriers to collaboration? One is conflicting goals. All of us have their own objectives they want to achieve in their organizations. At the individual level, we have the objective of one, getting more pay, and two, getting promoted. But on the organizational side, they want more revenue and business growth. If these two objectives are not aligned, then it becomes a barrier. And it's upon us as HR managers to ensure that the individual and the team goals are aligned with the corporate objectives. And that requires that we understand the knowledge resources that are required so that we can help to achieve the corporate objectives. I can give an example where an organization wants to automate its activities by 2027. So what knowledge resources are required? One is the skills and the knowledge that people must have in order to automate. Two is the types of technologies available that can enable the organization to automate. And three, the technology that other competitors have that can enable that organization to automate. When there is a conflict, that the departments want their own types of technology, then that becomes misaligned with the corporate objective of automating. The second one is power imbalances, where there is competition, either for positions or for resources. And this comes with the structure of the organization, which could be hierarchical. And these barriers come as a result of competition for promotion. Some people may not work as a team because they don't want to share their knowledge, which can lead to promotion. This is a negative aspect which discourages people working together because of competition for promotion, or people using their knowledge to implement to intimidate others. They say that knowledge is power. People who have certain key knowledge may use it either to intimidate or to take advantage of others or manipulate them. So power imbalances in terms of the knowledge people have or a competition for promotion can be a barrier to collaboration. The other one is lack of skills, and we are looking at skills in many ways. I've mentioned two, I can mention two or more others. One is poor communication skills, where people don't listen, because listening requires that you acquire knowledge. Two on communication is that they share knowledge very late. Or three, in communication, they don't share adequate knowledge. So that becomes a barrier. On interpersonal relations, this is about collaboration, where people don't know or don't have adequate skills on how to interact with others. Interpersonal skills relate to, one, understanding of others, two, empathy, that when others are experiencing certain challenges, we empathize with them. And three, interpersonal skills also involves becoming a team player. So many of us may not have empathy, may not be team players, or may not be as cooperative as is expected. So this inhibits effective collaboration. The other one is geographical dispersion. Though with the new technologies, this should not be a problem. So I'm talking of geographical dispersion as a barrier, especially for those organizations that do not have technological infrastructure to link up with people located in different locations. However, coordinating people who are many miles away becomes difficult because you don't know what they are doing at what time and where. So there could be delays, even if you have the technology. The other one is time constraints, where people have tight deadlines within which they must achieve their targets. And therefore, they may not have time, for example, in mentorship. So a mentor and a mentee must find time to meet. But when there are deadlines to be met, then sharing of this knowledge collaboratively may not be effective. How do we promote effective collaboration? One is through team objectives, clear ones, so that everybody is aware of what the team intends to do and their specific roles. There are many roles of a team. There are those who play the leadership role. There are those who are the implementers of the team objectives. So everybody must play their role in order to promote this teamwork and achieve team objectives. Open communication channel is another way of promoting collaboration. where, if possible, knowledge is shared in real time and there is honest communication. Creating a culture of open communication enhances trust, creates innovation, and also encourages a learning organization. 3 is the use of diverse team composition, where people from different backgrounds are brought together to share their skills and knowledge. I have indicated earlier on in terms of types of collaboration, internal and external, and I mentioned communities of practice, where different people come together from different backgrounds to share their knowledge. So again, this enhances creativity. On conflict resolution, we cannot overemphasize this, where 2 or more people are working together in collaboration, there's a likelihood of conflicts arising. As HR managers, we must address those conflicts constructively and in time. A conflict not resolved may mean that people go their separate ways or cannot work together, and that affects collaboration. Another way of promoting collaboration is the regular check-ins, where you find out what the employees are doing, how and where, so that challenges can be identified on time, or if they are not meeting the deadlines, they can be assisted either through more resources or through more knowledge. What is the role of leaders, including HR managers, in collaboration during knowledge sharing? Number 1, we must be transparent and allow participation in knowledge sharing and dissemination. Transparency, because we want to be open by sharing those knowledge resources. If people ask for certain information, we should be willing and ready to provide. And in participation, we allow people to make their comments, criticize us, and also give their insights during meetings or using those portals. Secondly, we provide resources, particularly financial and human resources, so that we can work together. We cannot promote teamwork without providing those key resources. Mentorship and coaching, I've said mentorship is where senior or junior managers work together in an informal way so that they can share their resources. Coaching is more targeted because it is based on a performance gap compared to mentorship, which is fairly broad. But coaching is specific. Somebody can be coached on communication, or can be coached on performance, or can be coached on report writing. So these 2 methods of training helps people to acquire new knowledge. And we can have group mentorship or group coaching so that people can acquire the same skills together or collectively. The other one is to align our mission and our vision and strategy as HR managers to corporate goals. If there is no alignment of our vision, as a department, we want to be somewhere, to be the best department that ever existed in terms of timely service delivery in recruitment, in training, and others, so that others can benchmark with us. So we should align our vision with the corporate objectives. If the corporate vision, for example, is to be a leading technology organization in Africa, then as HR managers, we must align ourselves with that vision by ensuring that we have what they call cutting edge knowledge, which can enable us to achieve that leadership position in Africa. And lastly, as I mentioned, you have to measure collaborations among people in organizations. So evaluate and reward people who are sharing their knowledge through incentives like a bonus for contributing to knowledge or a promotion. So basically, those are the roles of leaders, and in particular HR managers, to ensure that there is collaboration within and outside our departments. Our second last slide is on measuring collaboration, just like we did in measuring knowledge sharing. We want to ensure that collaboration is working. And we need to measure how it is working and probably the challenges they are facing. One is team productivity, where we measure the outputs of the team members after working as a team. That if people were not working as a team previously, then after working together, there should be improved performance. So the outputs are in terms of 1, revenue generation, 2, profits, and 3, customer satisfaction. That when people are working together, they can satisfy customers better than when individuals are working alone. Secondly is the effectiveness of any meeting. That a meeting is intended to, 1, discuss issues that could be affecting the organization, or 2, sharing their knowledge. So the effectiveness of a meeting will look at the outcomes of these meetings. 1, the problems that have been solved through these meetings. 2, the conflicts that have been resolved through these meetings. And 3, the levels of revenue generation that have resulted from these meetings. So again, when people have meetings, which is a collaborative tool, we expect them to produce those outcomes. The number of problems solved, the level of customer satisfaction, and the number of conflicts resolved. Tool usage, we have mentioned many tools before, one of which is a learning management tool or system. The other one is a dashboard. We must measure how often people utilize or log into these tools. If people don't use these tools because there are few logs, then it means that they are not using these tools, which is a waste. The other one is goal achievement, that individual and the group goals should be achieved by working together in a collaborative manner. And lastly is the quality of the relationship, where people work together in a way that there is no conflict, there is mutual support and cooperation. This leads to trust and high levels of satisfaction. The second last part of this program this morning is how we can sustain knowledge sharing and collaboration. Sustaining means ensuring that collaboration works for a long time without collapsing. I have given several ways in which we can sustain collaboration. One is continuous reviewing of knowledge management practices, where we evaluate collaboration practices like teamwork, whether it's physical or virtual, and also looking at what is being shared among the teams and the value of what is being shared. Secondly is embedding sharing norms. These are practices where people share their knowledge on a regular basis, and that means creating an open knowledge sharing culture. I've talked about incentivizing knowledge sharing, where people can be rewarded for sharing valuable knowledge. Peer-to-peer learning is a way of collaboration where people learn together through storytelling, through coaching, through mentorship. Another way of enhancing knowledge sustainability is linking sharing to organizational objectives so that there is no strategic drift, that we can share knowledge which is not relevant to the attainment of those corporate objectives. Lastly is the trend or trends in knowledge sharing and collaboration. Trends are patterns in the way in which we share and collaborate. So these patterns are many, and I've mentioned a few. One is the adoption of AI, where we use technologies to create knowledge resources that can be shared within or outside the organization. So the use of artificial intelligence can be used to share knowledge. For example, we can, in the knowledge management system, we can create chatbots which are machine related, where people can ask questions and the AI system can answer them, so that we don't need a physical human being to answer questions when accessing the system. Secondly is the remote collaboration, especially after COVID. People are now working remotely, possibly from their own homes. So we need to deploy virtual team tools so that we can work together. Micro-learning, this is where small groups meet, very small groups of 5 or 7, to work on a project or share knowledge related to their areas of specialization. So micro-learning has become very important because it avoids bringing together very large groups, which are very difficult to coordinate. So micro-learning, very small groups, preferably from the same department, who come together to share their knowledge. Gamification is about making learning fun or sharing of knowledge rewarding. So through games, where people can meet virtually and share their experiences by use of games, then it becomes a very interesting way of learning. That learning should not be the traditional kind of learning where people sweat their blood out to learn. But today we make it easier and more interesting, where people can interact with technological tools which are interactive and making it interesting to learn. And through these technologies, we are able to share and collaborate by way of knowledge. Lastly is social learning networks. There are platforms like LinkedIn, WhatsApp groups, which enhance knowledge sharing and collaboration. I'm sure every department in our organizations have WhatsApp groups through which they can share knowledge resources related to meetings or any other programs that is of interest. So on that note, I want us to stop there, and therefore I invite questions, comments, or even compliments based on what we have learned this morning. So the floor is open to all of us. You can make your questions or comments as we close? Anybody with a comment? Alice Mayaka, if you are there, please make your comment or question.
I want to appreciate very much the learning which has taken place, and I've learned a lot, but I hope in line with knowledge management, we can get the record later if I want to refer to it, because at some time the message read recording stopped. I hope it was fully recorded, the video. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are welcome, and thank you for the compliment. Yes, as HRP, we always share the video recordings as well as the notes on our website. So as soon as...
William.
Yes, sir.
Now, for purposes of this training,
yes,
all the recording plus the notes are in Learner's portal. So,
yes.
Alice, if you log into your portal at achrp.org, you go to my courses. You'll be able to find these notes as well as the recording for this presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So thank you, Lillian. Anybody with a question or a comment, Rose?
Okay, mine is just to say thank you once again. And I think the challenge you've thrown to us is implementation. Yes. So I think that's now the journey that all us HR practitioners have to engage in and analyze what we're implementing and what we are not and what we should. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rose. Yes, the challenge is how we can implement knowledge sharing and collaboration, but I'm sure we are up to the task and create systems that will enable knowledge sharing and the collaboration. So if there is no other participants who has a question or a comment to make, I want to say thank you very much for being with us during this morning session. Thank you for registering with us. I look forward to seeing you again next week for another insightful presentation, the same time and the same place, which is Zoom. Thank you and God bless you. Have a good day.
Thank you.